Okay, so today we are diving into something pretty big. A wealth-based Pell Grant system.
Okay.
We're looking at this piece. Wealth-based Pell Grant. EDU. Loan relief.
Yeah.
To help us unpack it.
Right.
And, it feels like college affordability is like always on people's minds.
Absolutely.
Especially these days, yeah. And student loan debt is such a weight on people.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah. So this proposal feels very timely.
Yes.
So imagine, right? Instead of just your family's income, your family's wealth is a factor in how much financial aid you could get for college.
Interesting.
That's what we're going to be talking about today.
And it's interesting you say that because I think for a lot of people, when they think of financial aid, they immediately think of
Income.
income. Exactly. So to really kind of understand the potential impact of this, we should probably touch upon the current Pell Grant system as it is.
Right.
It's needs-based, so it looks at income, family size, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look at existing family wealth.
And that's what's so fascinating about this, right?
Yeah.
Because some experts argue that as it stands,
Yeah.
the system as it is actually disadvantages certain groups,
Right.
particularly Black, Latino, and Indigenous families.
Yeah. And it makes sense if you think about it, because
Right.
statistically, those groups tend to have less wealth, even if they have higher income.
And we're not even just talking about finances here,
Right.
because it's really about looking at how these systemic inequalities
Exactly.
create barriers to higher education.
Yeah, it's about more than just money. Like, it's really about how these deep-rooted disadvantages are preventing people from
Access, exactly.
And this is where UC Merced sociology professor Lori Hamilton comes in.
Okay, yeah.
She and her team at the He Lab
Mm-hmm.
have offered up this really, I think, bold solution,
Okay.
a wealth-based Pell Grant
Okay.
that would work alongside the existing system.
Interesting.
So they're talking about potentially even doubling the maximum aid amount for students whose families have less than $500 in wealth.
That's
Huge.
that's a game changer.
Right.
I mean, think about how many students who wouldn't have been able to afford college
Yeah.
could now, pursue higher education.
And think about what that means, right?
Yeah.
Potentially greater economic mobility.
Absolutely.
More diverse workforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is.
When it comes to these things.
There is.
This plan, obviously, doesn't come cheap.
$17.4 billion.
Yeah, that's a big price tag.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder,
Where does it come from?
where's that money coming from? And is it even feasible, right?
Yeah.
Like, given all the ins and outs of the federal budget.
Right, all the other things that they're paying for.
Exactly.
And I mean, this has caused a lot of debate.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, as you can imagine,
Yeah.
some experts are like, this is it. This is going to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Others, and the economist Robert Levine is one of them.
Okay.
He says, instead of adding on this wealth-based layer, we need to just redo the entire thing.
The whole Pell Grant formula.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Scrap it, start over.
So a complete overhaul as opposed to just adding on this extra layer.
Exactly. That's what he's saying.
Interesting.
And then you have people like Jason Cooper from the American Enterprise Institute.
Okay.
And he's saying, you guys are focusing on the wrong thing.
Okay.
Because, we need to look at tuition costs.
The root of the problem.
The root of the problem.
Okay.
He's like, until we figure that out,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much aid we give.
Because it's just going to keep going up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm,
Exactly.
It's not really going to solve the problem long term.
And that's what's so interesting about this, right? It's not like we're presenting one solution.
Right.
It's about looking at all these different approaches.
Absolutely, because it's a complex issue, right?
Right.
And it requires, us to be open to different perspectives.
Yeah. And like you said, thinking about it in new ways.
Exactly, and constantly questioning, what we think we know about this.
So to recap, today we looked at a wealth-based Pell Grant system.
We did.
We looked at how it could really help people, the potential benefits,
Yeah.
but also the challenges in making it a reality.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's not as simple as just saying, okay, let's do this.
No.
There's a lot of logistical things to figure out.
Right. And as we heard, people have very different ideas
Yeah.
about,
Completely different approaches.
what the best path forward is.
And, that kind of leads us to something else to think about, which is, beyond just the financial aid aspect, what other changes could we make to make higher education more accessible and more equitable?
It's a really good question to think about.
Yeah.
And, as you're thinking about that, maybe look into baby bonds.
Okay, yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Interesting.
But it's all connected, right?
Right, it all ties in together.
Because it's about how we address this.
Systemic issues, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's our deep dive into the world of wealth-based Pell Grants.
Very interesting stuff.
Keep thinking about these things.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next time.
See you then.